Peace, beautiful souls. Alright, so we have a message for you. This is not for everybody. Although some aspects pertain to everybody, not all of them do. This is for those of you who are, or those of us, because I'm talking to me too, those of us who are chosen ones, light bearers, light workers, seers, whatever you want to, whatever title resonates with you, all of the above. Okay, so I was recording a whole hell of a lot and it did not record at all. Alright, I'm going to try to pick up where I left off. So when you are someone with one of those titles, whatever you want to call it, that comes along with channeled messages, downloads, divine messages, intuitive messages, whatever you want to call it, right? And you will more often than not be called to share those messages. Those messages are not usually meant to stay with you. Sometimes you get just your own, but a lot of the times we're supposed to be sharing them, right? Sometimes that's to a collective, sometimes that's one specific person, a few different people, sometimes those people are strangers, and sometimes they're people you know, right? Usually when it's people you know, it can be a bit intimidating, a bit scary to share that message, because it's not actually you alone that's like, oh, I want to tell you something. No, you're being called and guided to give that message that's being channeled through you, you know? So a lot of times we can overthink that and not share the message when we're meant to. And it's usually out of fear. When it's someone we know, right? It's usually out of fear that, let me just sit down. It's usually out of fear that like we're gonna, oh no, hold on. It's usually out of fear that we're gonna like upset them, which then goes further of a fear of like losing that person, right? Which this brings a whole nother message within this message. You cannot lose someone or lose anything or miss out on anything that's not for you, right? Regardless of like if you felt like this connection was going to be super long, whatever, or even when it's family, right? Even if comes a separation, it was meant to, and usually that's a part of our growth, right? Losing people, disconnecting with people, especially when we're here with certain missions, purposes, whatever you want to call it, is going to happen. It has to happen. That being said, when we get in those moments and we choose to not listen to that calling and give that message, we're like literally creating imbalance within ourselves, and in a way showing like not embracing our gifts truly fully, because again, we're meant to be sharing these things that we receive from the divine, from our spirit guides. It's not always from one specific energy that we receive these messages either, right? And even if like sometimes it's also the fear of like, well, yeah, always the fear of how that person's going to respond to you giving that message, sharing that message, right? You might not always get a good response, and that's okay. Sometimes they'll come back around and tell you, you know, I understood what you were saying before. Sometimes y'all will never speak again, and that's okay. And a lot of times, though, more times than not, people are open to receiving the messages. And again, if they're not, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. That does not mean that you should not be putting out the message that you are being guided to give, if you get what I'm saying. And it gets easier as time goes on, but sometimes this shit is hard. Again, especially when you actually know the person and you like, you know, value your relationship with that person. And then you can feel when you're triggering someone. You can feel when you're making them uncomfortable. And I know for me personally, I don't like to make people uncomfortable, even though I truly do believe we grow in uncomfortability, right? When I can feel that, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. But that's okay. All these things are not always going to feel good. And that's a big one. Just because it feels uncomfortable, just because it does not feel good, does not mean that you're not meant to say it. It does not mean that you're not meant to share it. Okay? That's probably even more of a sign that you are meant to. Especially again, like when that fear is there, because it's not just your message. You'd be doing a disservice to yourself and to that person. I've said this before, to not put that out there. You get what I'm saying? We quite literally shed the light on the darkness, which does what? It exposes shadows, which a lot of people don't like their shadows exposed. So, you know, it pisses them off. And even we do that by our nature, right? Just being. You don't have to ask no questions. You don't got to do nothing. You see it, you hear it, you feel it. It happens. Now, if you also have been doing your own shadow work, that energy is going to be amplified. You're going to do that even more. And then that's where sometimes the questions and things start to play, and the messages come out even stronger, or like the feeling of needing to pass along that message, or you start receiving even more messages, you know, because you're doing that within yourself. Remember too, we're all reflections of each other, right? And it's when you're doing that within yourself, it's easier, so much easier to see and feel within other people, right? But for some people that's scary in multiple different ways, but there's nothing to be afraid of. Again, remember, I'm talking to me too. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's literally a gift. Although sometimes it might not feel like it, it's a beautiful thing, and it's something that's meant to be embraced. The right people will, I don't want to say right or wrong people, but you know, some people will be very grateful to you for that, and others won't receive it so well, and that's okay. That's not your problem. You know? But yeah, anyway, look at this tree. She's huge. Okay, I love you. See you later. Okay, I also needed to add and reiterate that this message is not for everybody. Even so, if you have these gifts, right? We have free will. You choose whether or not you want to answer that calling. If you did choose, though, if you are choosing to answer the calling, this message is for you. Don't be afraid to give those messages, right? And remember also, not everybody realizes or acknowledges the fact that the Most High and their ancestors, their spirit guides, speak through other physical human vessels, you know, which is another reason why it sometimes is not always received well, because they're just like, who is this fucking person? You know what I'm saying? But you know that. We know that, okay? So again, don't take it personally if it isn't received well, and don't be scared. Okay? I love you. See you later.